You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. Freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty Health Share and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures. Saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Sometimes we need to slow down and remember the simple pleasures in life. Good coffee, good books, and good company. Come on in. Take a seat. The coffee's just been brewed. Let's see who we have in the coffee shop today. Well, I'm looking around the coffee shop. Ben D'Alessio, how you doing there today?
Hey Jesse, how's it going? I'm doing well, thanks.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. Now I see you've got your book, Binge Until Tragedy.
That's right.
Wow, what genre is this?
So I did have some trouble trying to place it in a genre. Right now I have it in literary fiction and kind of general fiction. Some people who have read it would put it in coming of age. So anything like that. Focus a lot on travel and kind of that early 20s age.
Sounds fascinating. All right, so what can you tell me about your main character?
So my main character, he's just graduated college at like a small liberal arts school in Pennsylvania, and his best friend, like childhood friend, not college friend, committed suicide right kind of before he graduated, and he was on that cusp of adulthood and I don't want to say childhood, but adolescence maybe, where he's entering the real world and he doesn't really know what to do with himself. So like many people that age, he decided to travel Europe with friends and kind of see what happened.
All right. So where in Europe do they go, or would that be too much of a spoiler?
I can give you a few places. That is not a spoiler. He buys a ticket to Paris, and he has plans for Paris, Amsterdam, and Berlin. And after that, they don't have any set plan.
Okay. Paris, Amsterdam, and Berlin. 3 very fascinating cities. Have you ever been to those places?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have been to those places. I will say, because I get questioned all the time, because this is my first book, the main character, Joel, is from New Jersey, as am I. However, he is not me. I'm not him. I created him. As far as Joel is concerned, I'm God. I did want to put that out there. But there will be a part of the book where it becomes very obvious, if you don't believe me, because even still, people say, no, Joel's you. Like, even though I'm telling them it's not, no, Joel's you. But there is a point in the book where it becomes very obvious that Joel is not me. But I won't give any of that away.
Well, that's fascinating. I would say the fact that you actually have already visited those cities is great author research. Did having those experiences make it easier to write your book?
I was I was in Spain. So after I graduated college, I moved to Spain for a year where I was a teacher. And I had a lot of free time, to be honest. And let's say I got sidetracked in college from writing. I got distracted for, won't go into detail. But when I was in Spain, I had a lot of free time. I had a great job, but I only worked so many hours a week, and I had all this time at night, no other obligations. So I said, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write something. And I just started writing, and I realized that I wanted this book to be kind of focused on traveling, or having that be a big appeal of the book. And I knew that summer, after I finished my teaching job, I was backpacking with a friend around Europe. So I wanted to see these places to get a more authentic, to be able to write about them in more authentic detail.
Personally, I think that's fantastic. One of my favorite authors is a thriller writer, and he includes lots of legitimate, real details in his books, and that's what draws me to them.
And I know that some people have complimented the book on that. I haven't been everywhere that the characters go, and there's also some other parts. I don't want to give anything away, but there are some other parts to the book that are very obvious that I've not been to those places, but for the most part, I personally have been to the vast majority of the cities and countries that the characters visit.
Hey, that's awesome. That's, like I said, the detail that you can add to something like that, because you can't get the smell of a Parisian cafe before it opens in the morning from Google Earth. Right. I'm sorry. It's good.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But you can't
I agree 100%.
Tell about those smells or the sounds or the kind of people you meet on the street from Google Earth.
Right.
So I think that adds to your book immensely.
I hope so.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 27.
That's awesome. 27 and you're published. I think that's great. I really do. So are you still a teacher, or have you moved on to another profession? No,
so I'm actually a law student right now.
So lots of reading and writing in your future, just not necessarily the fun type.
We'll see. Yeah, I have an internship this summer. I work in New York City for a NGO, like a non-governmental organization who works within the UN. So I'm kind of leaning more towards the advocacy, human rights aspect to the law than the kind of conventional lawyer. That's just the path that I wanted to take, and I think that's more what I'm suited to do.
I think it's great, and I think the UN is a fascinating place. I'll bet you could find a plot line or two in there.
Absolutely. I'm still at the internship, so I'm not going to say anything yet.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. But if you're like most writers I know, you jot notes down for future plots even while you're doing other things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I heard this in your last interview, and I couldn't agree more with that writer. I'm forgetting his name, but I think you said that you tend to see writers always have like side projects kind of and other things going on, and that's 100% true. I'm actually finished yesterday the first draft to my next book, and then I have multiple just lists on my phone that I transcribe into notebooks. There's like ideas that could maybe or maybe not turn into a book, kind of like any sort of inspiration. And I would recommend this to any writers out there listening, that you always have to be writing down everything, whether it's on your phone or on paper, and you never know, you're going to forget it if you don't.
I think it's great, and that's kind of the way how I do my other radio show, where I focus on news. I'll find something that really catches my eye, something that you may not have heard on the mainstream, and I'll start digging into that and run off on a tangent around there. So whatever region of the world that story was from.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's like going down the rabbit hole. Like, you never know what you're going to find. There's inspiration everywhere. I still have my sweaty notebooks from Europe, just with like notes that, you know, if I went back and looked, I'd probably see that this one note maybe turned into a character in this book now that people can buy all over the world, which is a really, really cool thing to have. So.
I think the research and the notes are very helpful, and I think that is great advice to other writers. So
and I would think most writers do that already, and because you're going to find out the hard way that you're going to forget things. That's why they always say, you know, you got to keep pen and paper next to your bed at night, because the times you figure out, or you get the best ideas when you're either trying to go to sleep or you're on a run or you're in the shower, which are all very tough times to be writing anything down. That's why you have to have it nearby.
I can actually tell you one of my favorite authors says he gets his best ideas in the shower when he's most relaxed. So I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. You know, they say it's because you're like doing something else. So like almost relaxes your brain, something like that. I don't know. There's some science behind it that we tend to think of these things when we're going on a run or doing the dishes or in the shower, because your brain is doing something else, and then it just kind of relaxes it and it allows you to become more creative. But don't quote me on that.
Oh, you said it on air, but I'd say there's something to that methodology at least. Whether it's scientific fact or just it works that way with writers, I'd say it's a pretty good point. Are you traditionally published or self-published?
No, I'm self-published. I didn't want to go through the gatekeepers. I figured good writing will get discovered. I wanted to put it out there. I have this amazing team of editors. I have I self-published in the sense of I used a company to self-publish for me. So it's really great quality. They take care of all of the hiccups that are going to happen in self-publishing, because there will be hiccups in self-publishing, and they make it much easier. And so I'm self-published in that sense, not in the sense that I went and did it myself, but I couldn't be happier with the final product in both the editing and the distribution, the cover and all of that.
I was just about to ask, did you design your own cover?
More or less. I had the idea for it, and I wanted to go with that vintage kind of travel poster look. I always have been attracted to that, and because my book is focused a lot on travel, that's the kind of the background to it. So I got that idea. I found an image, and I sent it into the graphic designers with my self-publishing company, and they took care of the rest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I will say, I'm glad to hear you have a team of editors on your side, because I have read both good traditionally published books that I thought needed more editing, and I've read good self-published books that I thought needed more editing. So good editors can definitely help craft a good story.
Yeah, well, I say that editors really know how stupid writers are. They do so much work. I couldn't be more grateful for my editors. And I went through multiple phases, and you really have to. You're selling yourself short if you don't do the editing and kind of the cover. They say you don't judge a book by cover, but thousands and thousands of people do. So you really have to put the time and the money into it, unfortunately, but it does cost a lot of money. You have to put it in, because you're going to be putting in hours and hours on your book anyway. You don't sell yourself short. No one's going to read it if it's full of grammatical errors and has a terrible cover. So save your money and put it into that, and you'll be happier with the product at the end.
I think that's outstanding advice for writers and authors everywhere. So how long did it take you to write the book? Did you write it while you were still traveling, or did you wait till you got home?
I started in, I'd say, the second half of 2013. Wrote on and off. I wouldn't say I was writing seriously yet. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to say. I wrote through until kind of that summer of 2014, and then I went on this trip I was talking about, and I was getting a lot of inspiration from that. Again, I didn't write during that trip. I took lots of notes, but I didn't write during that trip. And then I came home, and it was that next year and a half or so, I was writing more regularly, on a more regular basis. You know, in total, it's probably 3 years, but I wasn't writing every day. This last book I wrote, I was writing a lot more consistently, and that got finished in about a year and a couple months. And that was also while I had to go back and do all the edits for this book. So when this manuscript for Bigelow Tragedy was in my editor's hands, I was working on my other book while also in law school. So it's tough to write that much. We get into a rhythm, and it becomes like an addiction, to be honest. And you don't feel like yourself if you're not writing. You, like many of you, feel guilty, you feel off, and it's weird, but it's a good thing. I think, I forget who said it. Might have been Gloria Steinem, maybe said something like, writing is the only time I feel like I shouldn't be doing anything else, something along those lines. And it's really true. And I saved that because it's a very, very true statement for a writer.
Well, I can associate with that, even though I'm not a writer. What I am is an avid reader.
Right. Yeah.
But I also have the radio show.
And you feel off if you're not reading, right?
I feel off if I'm either not A, reading, or not B, getting ready to do a broadcast or record a radio show or do something along those lines. It's like something's missing in my life. There's a missing piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, are you a plotter? Did you sit down and plot your novels out, or are you one of those pantsers? You just figure it out as you go along?
I would say I'm somewhere in between. So I have it right here in front of me. So I have my printed out rough draft for this past book, and I have 2 notebooks. So I'm writing every day, and then I'm writing down notes in the notebook for what I either want to add to what I've already written, or what I know I'm gonna want to put later in the book, so I don't forget about it. And I'll put, like, let's say the thing, it's high school. Like, in the high school part of my book, when the character's in high school, there's this, and this, but I'm not at high school yet. I'm still in elementary school. So I want to write it down in the high school section. So then when I go to write the high school section, I come to a block in the road, I go, oh yeah, I wanted to write this. Or, I wanted this in here, and I need to put it in later.
That's cool. So you're kind of the hybrid. You know you want to get from A to B, but how you get there is what you don't know.
Right, and a lot of it comes in the editing. So I know that some people want to just research, and you almost feel like you're doing work because you're researching, but you're really not. You're just putting off your writing. Like, research is definitely important, but you can kind of do both, and you write, and you just get it out, and then you go back and you add to it, because your first draft is not going to be what you publish. There's going to be many, many rounds, so you go back, and even during my 3rd revisions with my editors, I was putting in different things. So it's okay, but you really want to get it on paper, because that's what you can improve. You can't improve a blank page.
I think that's great advice. I really do. What inspired you to start writing?
I loved writing as a kid and in high school. I couldn't even really write necessarily. Like, when I was a little kid, I remember I used to just want to have notebooks and write things in notebooks about knights, or about medieval ages, or about, the army and stuff like that. I would just make up stories, and I thought it was really cool. And I remember I was really excited to get my library card as a kid, and I carried that with me throughout high school. Some of my favorite classes, and I actually thank them in the acknowledgments of my book. I thank my creative writing teachers in high school, because those are some of my favorite classes, and they actually told me, like, Ben, you're a writer. I specifically remember it. Like, Ben, you're a writer, you have to write. Unfortunately, I kind of disregarded that after high school, and I kind of went a different path in college, and I didn't write, I didn't write fiction or for fun. I wrote, school papers. I learned a ton, and I think that my college experience was a huge influence on my writing in terms of content and what I'm interested in. But writing itself, I didn't, hone my craft or anything during college. And then it was after, when I said I was in Spain, and I had more time, and I thought, why not? Like, if there's any time to start writing a book, it's when you're in Spain with, nothing to do at night, and you have, you have a job, and you have plenty of time. Yeah, and then it just happened, and then, like I said, it became an addiction, and I can't stop.
Well, I always say to my friends and family, there's only one addiction I'll feed, and that's the love of reading.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My dad used to make us do reading time as a kid, and I think that just kind of stuck with me.
Like I said, I'm not a writer. I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried the NaNoWriMo thing. I've tried to sit down and write a book. It's just not me. Now, put a microphone
No,
in front of me.
it's not easy.
I take off.
It's not easy. I definitely threw out at least one story before this one that I thought I could do, and my heart wasn't in it, and so it took me more than one shot.
I think it takes everybody more than one shot.
Yeah.
I've heard writers who like to share their plot and share their inspirations with friends and family. Then I've heard other writers, they don't tell a single person about what they're plotting for their next novel until it's done, because they view that idea as jet fuel that has to get them through the writing process. Which way do you go with that?
I'm definitely more towards the latter. I don't like, I think it's tacky to talk about your writing, to be honest, before you've written it. I think everyone wants to say, like, oh, I actually didn't tell, I told maybe 2 or 3 people I was even writing this book before it was available for purchase. I didn't tell my parents until it was available for purchase. My editors knew, my brother knew, very few people knew I was even writing a book until after. And then now that people know I write, I will say I'm working on something. I'll say, very little, but I'm definitely not a sharer of what I'm writing because it might change, and I don't know. It's I guess it's more personal.
Now, I assume if you needed to ask a technical question of somebody who is a subject matter expert, saying, hey, I'm writing this book, can you tell me what really goes on with XYZ, or can you give me a little bit more background information on XYZ? That would be different.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But you don't put it out there on your social media, your daily word count.
No, not at all. No, and people have this like Twitter, am writing all of this. Like, you're not writing, you're on Twitter. So I think that people like to have the idea that they're writing and they want to say they're writing, but like put it out there, put out things. And you don't have to write a novel to be a writer. You can write anything. You write a blog and you're a writer, but put out content you're proud of, and there are plenty of ways to do that now, and that's how you hone your craft. I'm not even saying my craft has been honed yet, but that's really how you learn, and you can do a lot better than just saying, I'm working on this, because you could be I was working on this book for years, and then you almost give yourself anxiety because you're telling everyone, hey, I'm writing this book, and then they're looking at their watch, well, where's your book? And a lot of things can happen, and you don't want to, rush your process or whatever it is.
I have an editor friend, and one of her favorite sayings is, don't rush the process.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So
I know. And my editor says the same thing. At the same time, I do think it's good for writers to have deadlines. That doesn't mean you should rush the process, but I think if you don't give a writer a deadline, they'll take forever. They'll take much longer than they really need to. And they'll do what I said before, is like, it's not going to be great. Like I like to say, looking at someone's first draft or rough draft is like looking at them naked after they've had a big meal. Like, it's not going to be good. So you have to get through the drafts and then have a polished quality product at the end.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I really do. So, your second book, and I'm not going to ask too much about it, but can I just ask what stage it's in? Your editor has it, so I guess you're working on rewrites on it now?
No, I literally finished the last sentence yesterday. I am doing I like to do a read-through on my own, just real quick, and then I give it to her. So I'm actually giving it to her this weekend.
Okay, so your editor's going to get it this weekend. And so 6 months, a year, maybe?
It depends how much work it needs done to it. I would think spring it'll be available. It's significantly shorter than my first book. My first book's big. It's a very long book, and I didn't do that on purpose. I actually had no idea. I just wrote a book. I did not know that it was a long book. I didn't really even know, because you can't go by page counts, you go by word counts. I didn't know what the average size of a novel was. I had no idea. So I just wrote a book, and this is shorter than actually the first draft, but this is still like a long novel. My second one, the one I just finished, is significantly shorter, but that doesn't mean it might not need more work done to it.
Right.
But
can I ask the word count on your first book?
Spring.
Can I ask the word count on your first book? What was the word count?
The word count of the first book is about, I think, 165,000 words.
That is quite long. The industry average, and I know this because, well, I'm an avid and voracious reader, is usually about 90 to 100,000, depending on genre, 120 for the upper edge.
Right. Exactly. So the gatekeepers won't even look at it if they saw my word count, unless they gave me a shot, but they wouldn't. I'm a nobody. No one knows me yet. So they wouldn't even give me a shot. You know, people can write these huge books after they've written smaller, successful books. Like, you know, I don't think Tolstoy, I mean, I don't know. Everyone knows War and Peace as being kind of like the big book. But I don't know if that was his first book. Maybe. That was also in Russia. I don't know. They might have different laws there.
Who knows? Maybe different laws and different gatekeepers.
Right. Yeah.
It might
be more lenient to get through those winters.
Russia may have had more to do with party affiliation, my darling. So, all right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to refill our coffee cups.
All right. Sounds
and
good.
Pay those radio station bills, and we will see you on the other side.
All right. Sounds good.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Everyone loves liberty. Our rights come from God, not the government. So why are you letting other people tell you what's best for your healthcare? Exercise your freedom with Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of people who voluntarily share one another's medical costs. Liberty Health Share is founded on the idea that most people truly want to help one another. Healthcare sharing allows members to do just that as a true community that supports one another in times of need. Liberty believes people should make decisions for themselves and their families. Members are able to take back the freedom to make their own decisions about their healthcare. healthcare, freedom from guilt or doubt about how your money is used. You have the freedom to direct your healthcare, not to be dictated to by bureaucrats. Stop letting others tell you what to do and join a community of like-minded people. Exercise your freedom. Join Liberty HealthShare and take back the control of your healthcare while helping those around you. Call Liberty at 855-58-LIBERTY. Again, that's 855-58-LIBERTY for more information, or you can check them out at libertyhealthshare.org. Again, that's libertyhealthshare.org.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
At St. Jude, a family never sees a bill at all. It's like the world has been lifted off of your shoulders.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
All right, thank you guys for hanging in there with me while we took that commercial break. And yes, Ben is still with us. All right, so
Hi, Jesse.
Great, thank you for hanging in there with us over that commercial break. So you definitely sound like someone who's focused on your craft.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think makes you so craft-inspired and writer-process-inspired versus one of these people that just sits down and starts writing and doesn't think about things like editing, cover design? Because we've all seen those books out there, and you look at them and go, what were you thinking?
Well, one definitely has to be like a source of, like, you have to take pride in your work. That's one. So I want to do the best I can. Like, obviously, I don't want to have years and years in between everything I put out. But like, this is also, some people might know my name just from this single title. So you want to take pride in your work. So that's why I think you should put in the money and the time for the editing and the cover design and the distribution and all of that. If you mean more of working your craft, like being meticulous with the process and kind of sitting down every day or every day you really can, I would say part of that definitely comes from my upbringing, where I was an athlete and my dad was the athletic director at my school. So it was all about, doing like a sport, like anything, but like, in sports, you have to practice. And you have to, so when I started working out, you'd work out every day you could, and you did sit-ups and push-ups every day, and you went and whatever sport you did, you shot foul shots or, threw the football. And now I've just kind of translated that over to writing. So whether I'm writing blogs or I'm writing political pieces or I'm working on a novel or a short story, like, you have to do it every day or every possible day. People have some crazy schedules, but it has to be up there with like the most important thing in your life, or else it's not worth it. So, I don't, if that's what you mean, I think my advice would be you got to do it as much as possible.
I think that's excellent advice. I mean, I didn't get good at being on the air by saying I was going to do it. I got good in practice by, guess what? Turning on the microphone and doing it.
Absolutely.
Now,
it's like anything. You gotta put the practice. Malcolm Gladwell wrote the whole book about it. It was like 10,000 hours. So in 10 years, it's like 10,000 hours of anything, and you become a master at it. Some social science. So maybe and I think that's about 10 years if you're doing it every day, and you really master something. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I could tell myself that.
I will say this, I'm kind of glad some of my old shows are kind of hard to find, especially if you go back to my first one. Just to give you an idea, my very first on-air show was a 30-minute pre-recorded episode, which is less than we've been talking now. And it took me 3 hours to do the prep for this. And
Really?
Yes. And I was absolutely shaking the whole time. Now, my average night, I do a live show 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday. And it's military and international affairs. So I have to do fresh research every day.
Right, yeah.
Because the news changes every day. And so I have 2 hours set aside for show prep. Now, I will say at least 45 minutes of that is usually spent on finding the right audio clips.
Right. But you're doing interviews 4 times a week?
Not interviews. My regular show, I very rarely have anyone on with me. If I do, they're a subject matter expert. Right. I've got a friend who's getting a PhD in terrorism who comes on regularly, and we'll discuss something like how the Middle East got its borders. But normally, it's me for an hour with a stack of military and international news the mainstream media isn't reporting on. Like the fact in Iran's last election, they had a Tinder-type app running around.
Wait, really?
Wait, really?
Yeah, no, I did not hear about that.
Exactly, or the little oddities of things that I'll pick up on this, and I'm like, okay, this is just too weird not to tell you about it. And then I usually try and end the show on a lighthearted or silly note or something amusing. One of the ones I did recently where there were 3 wild rabbits that there was a flood in New Zealand because of heavy rainwaters, and 3 wild rabbits surfed to safety on the back of the sheep.
Really?
And it was a fun way of ending my show.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna lighten that.
Exactly. I mean, you can only talk so much about North Korea's nuclear program before you gotta throw something in there that just lightens it up. But the only way I got any good at this was by turning on the microphone and piecing it together as I went along.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unlike a writer, where your stuff is out there forever, I have a little more control. I can kind of pull some of those older episodes and make them more or less disappear. They're still findable if you know where to dig.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to dig for it.
Yeah, I know. I think I need to. I'm nervous about some stuff I probably posted when I was like 20 years old. So I hope that doesn't come up one day.
It's out there. You were 20 years old. That's 7 years ago. I generally only go back, 3 weeks to a month for my research. So take that for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in law school. You're working on becoming a legal advocate. You have an internship that puts you in close proximity to the United Nations. This sounds fascinating. It really does.
Thank you. Yeah.
What made you want to go in this direction versus continuing to, say, teach English to people who need English lessons or what have you?
So, yeah, I went to Spain after I graduated college. I knew I was like, I can't go to law school right now. I knew that. I was going to, up for, years, I was going to go, okay, I'm going to go to law school after I graduate, and I got to senior year, and I said, I can't do it. I need to do something else. I had studied abroad in London my senior year, and I had another great internship there, and that really opened me up to traveling. That whole experience, because that was the first time I had ever left the United States, actually. So I knew if I could find any excuse to, go overseas again and do something that was productive, where I could learn a new language, I could get, work experience, I was going to take it. So I found this job in Spain, and I did that. And, I realized that I wanted to eventually go back to law school. And I knew that I wanted to go the route of like human rights and helping people and either legal aid or something in that direction. And I do go to Jesuit school, so there's a huge emphasis on human rights and helping those less fortunate than you. And I really kind of bought into that, and that's kind of the route I still want to go with my career, kind of that public interest route. That's why I also donate. Right now, I donate 50% of my net proceeds to the International Rescue Committee, which helps refugees. And I plan to, as time goes on, kind of changing whatever charitable organization I donate to, but to always have a charitable organization to donate to, and that can range from, I think one of my next ones will be helping, donating to an autism group, or to maybe Wounded Warrior, to whatever kind of charitable organization I think I should put next.
I think that's outstanding. And on a side note, I've just got to say this, since you mentioned human rights. How come we have people like China, Russia, and North Korea on the Human Rights Commission, and Venezuela?
I don't know. I don't understand. In Saudi Arabia, I'm very critical of also. I don't know. And maybe I'm going to the UN tomorrow. Maybe I'll ask someone and get an answer for you. But I don't know what to tell you about that. They have the most abysmal human rights record on the planet, but I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had an answer for you.
It's just one of those almost mysteries of life kind of things that it's one of those things that gets me on my other show, just off on a tangent, which I'm pulling the reins back because this is Coffee Shop.
Yeah. I had a feeling we could get there, though. Once I told you what I do, I am aware of your other show. I did research before the show, and I had a feeling that we might get there. But this is Coffee Shop, and I don't think people are expecting that.
No, but I'll tell you what. We'll talk after we finish recording. Maybe I'll get you on POV as well.
All right, sounds good.
So, back to writing. So you find inspiration everywhere. The idea hits you. How do you weed through your ideas and figure out which ones are worth pursuing and which ones there just isn't enough meat on the bone to make an actual novel?
Oh, great question. So like I said before, I'll have lists on my phone, and then I put those into paper because people are just cracking the phones and dropping them in toilets. So I want to have a backup. So I write them down, and just kind of as time goes on, I look at, okay, what is the next project going to be? What's the next book going to be? This last book I knew was going to be my next book because I'll say it's semi-autobiographical in the sense that it was definitely easier to write. Not all the time, but easier to write. I knew I want to get this book done for that reason. Next, now that I just finished this, and I don't know what I'm going to write next because I kind of have two competing ideas right now. And I think your question is great because, is there enough meat on the bone for them? I'm not sure, but I'm going to start one of them. I'll probably do a little research, start one of them, and then see if there is enough there. And if there is, I'm going to go with it. And you kind of research and write as you go along. And you the story just kind of turns in, it kind of morphs into something. Different writers have different pieces of advice. How, you should have your ending before you even start writing, or you write the ending first. I don't necessarily do that. I did know how these two okay, not all the time, but I did know how this last book was going to end probably from the beginning. Binge Until Tragedy, I changed the ending. So I wouldn't say that that's always true, but I just kind of make lists, make notes, and see what I have. And if you're writing something and you're making notes for other books, other potential books, you should have enough there because writers can't help it. They're always taking notes on things. So I don't really see myself having, at least not in the near future, having a dry spell of I don't have anything to write about, because that's just not the case.
No, there's always a ton of things to write about, and just like I see it, there's always a ton to talk about as well.
Yeah.
And I think your idea of just always making your notes is a great thing. Now, me, I tend to be an audio person, if you haven't guessed. If I'm driving along and I hear a phenomenal news story come across my radio that I want to dig more into, I'll record myself a little audio note on my phone. But then trust me, the minute I'm in the door, I'm at the keyboard.
Absolutely. I had one of those, actually. I think I lost it. I don't know. I did have a recording. That was my thing for a while. I was recording everything.
I literally recorded on my phone.
I lost it. Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, I guess I could do that now, too.
Audio note app on my phone. But usually the art of doing the recording kind of stuck at my head. But then, trust me, I'd get in the door. I'm straight to the keyboard.
Yeah. That's great. I think the sound of my own voice, though, would turn me off. I think I would stop listening to myself.
I've listened to probably 75 to 80% of the shows I've ever done. But I've also heard authors who can't read their own books after they're published. Because
they're self-conscious about their voice?
Or because they'll find things they want to change about the books after it's already been published.
Oh, yeah, right. That's why I need the editors.
Oh, I've even heard that from my favorite author happens to be a New York Times best-selling author. He's a thriller author. And I've even heard that from him. I cannot pick up a physical copy of my book and read it. I will find things I want to change.
Can you tell me who it is or no?
Sure, Brad Thor.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess Harlan Coben.
Nope, Brad Thor. Multiple #1 New York Times best-selling author, and he writes. He likes to write what he calls faction. You don't know where the facts end and the fiction begins.
Very interesting. I feel like that's. I don't. Okay. Do you know how to pronounce his last name? Is it Michael Crichton or is it Crichton?
I've heard Crichton and I've heard Crichton. I use Crichton.
I had an argument with a friend about this the other day. I've been using Crichton, but I'll use Crichton here. So is that like Michael Crichton? I feel like it's very similar style. Because I just read Jurassic Park. I'm actually looking at it right now on the bookshelf, and I feel like that was how. Because he's so smart. He's like a doctor. He's so smart that I can't tell what he's just making up or what's real science. And unfortunately, I don't think the dinosaurs are the real science. You know, my approach would be answered there, but I feel like it's very similar style.
I think it is similar, but it's in a science realm. Whereas Brad Thor took the real history of the Federal Reserve, the actual history, who was there, when it was founded, and literally built a white-knuckle thriller in modern day on it.
Wow.
And it was just, and he pulls little bits of things, and it's just amazing. And that's why I said it's the research that often makes the book. Like I said, you can look at a Parisian cafe all day on Google Earth, but it's not going to tell you what kind of people go there or how the cafe smells in the morning when it's baking.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it needs to be, for the writers, I think it needs to be a balance of research. You can't just write about anything. Here's a big kind of argument in the writing world. Not an argument, like more of a debate. It's, do you write only what you know, or can you write anything? I don't know if you've heard this, or I've talked about this. I am, and I've talked to my editors about this, I'm very much on the side of you should be able to write whatever you want, but the readers will judge you if it's authentic or not. So if I'm an American from New Jersey, it'll be tough for me to write a story about someone from Kenya who's never left Kenya, and I've never been to Kenya, and to write that authentic. I could do it. I could do tons of research. I've written about places in this book that in Binge Till Tragedy that I haven't been to, but I did tons of research on it, and now it's going to be up to the readers to decide if it's authentic enough. Maybe not authentic is the right word, but if it passes. I've heard, different writers have written. James Joyce wrote about Ireland from Italy. He's from Ireland, but writers write from all over. But it needs to be a balance of research to get to that authenticity, to make the readers believe that either one, you have a connection to that person, place, or thing, or you did the research and respected that person, place, or thing. However, I don't believe that if you're from this area or you're this race or you're this religion, you can't write about any other thing except that. That make a lot of boring things. That limit a lot of writing, and I don't think we should be limiting writing. I think it's important to have, people experimenting and trying different things, and if that means that the writer from Kenya is going to write the better book, that's fine. That doesn't mean someone from outside of Kenya can never write a book about Kenya. That's my debate. And I don't know if you've heard about this debate, but it does go on in the forums of the writing.
Yes, I have heard it. And what I will, as I am not a writer, I will repeat the words that I've heard Brad Thor say. Write what you read. Write in the genre you read. You have a mini PhD in the subject.
Yeah, I would say that's good. That's very good advice. I've never heard that, but that's good advice.
And I'll say this also. If you could only write about places you'd ever been, how would we have ever been blessed with Hogwarts?
Absolutely. George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones is based off of the Europe in the Middle Ages and parts of the Middle East and Asia, and about the relationships in the kingdoms and empires, but he didn't live in the Middle Ages, and he also never met dragons or White Walkers. So, you have to let people experiment and use their imagination.
Exactly. Well,
and there's a lot of fantasy and fiction that doesn't pass the test, and that's fine too. But I just think it'd be a really boring kind of world if people only wrote exactly their experiences all the time.
I think so too. Like I said, we never would have had Hogwarts.
Absolutely.
So what kind of an online writers platform do you have? Website, Twitter, Facebook, and yes, please give the links, because I give that opportunity to every guest near the end of the interview.
Absolutely. So I use, I have a personal Facebook page, and I have a writer Facebook page. So it's like Ben D'Alessio Novelist, and it's under Ben D'Alessio Writings. I have a Twitter page, which I use just for everything. I use for personal tweets, and I use for promoting my book and my writing. But I think the most important thing, and I tell other writers this, you have to get on Medium. Medium.com. I don't know if you know it or not. It is like a writer's dream. And if you are it, I don't know how you cannot be on it, because what it does is it takes the concept of Twitter, where popular things will rise to the top, but it puts that in whatever, there's no length limit. So you can write blogs, you write short stories. They're called publications. So they have them for anything you could think of, pretty much. There's political on all, both sides of the aisle. There's fiction. So I use a lot of that. I look at a lot of fiction, a lot of political things, anything you could think of. And if you have your own page and you write whatever, you write your blog about whatever you want, and it's on your personal page, and you'll get followers and you follow people. You can submit these to publications. And if they accept it, whatever their criteria is, then that can get shown to thousands of people. Some of these publications have, I want to say, upwards of hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm not positive on that, but thousands of followers, and that can really take off, and that can lead to being picked up by publications that will pay you. And some of these will pay you, but I think right now it's more about the exposure for emerging writers. And I don't know how you can not be on this, because if you just have a singular blog out there on the internet, you have to be sending emails to people and putting it on other, platforms. But Medium kind of can bring people to you, and it has statistics on there. You can see, what's working, what's not working, how many people are reading, how many people are viewing it. And I really think it's the best thing out there. And I try and promote my Medium page the most, because it gets like-minded people to see your work.
All right, so where can we find you on Medium?
So my Medium page is Ben D'Alessio 17. It's just one word. No, I have this crazy Italian last name with an apostrophe and a capital letter. None of that. Just Ben D'Alessio 17 at medium.com.
Okay, and do you have your own website?
No, I don't have my own website. I just use those three social media platforms the most, and I think that's That's all I'm doing right now. I haven't made my own website. I don't know if I'm going to.
Understandable. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we've had a very lively and fantastic conversation, Ben. And we will talk more about Jesse's POV when we get off the air here. And on that note, folks, remember, writers, if you are interested in joining me in the coffee shop, you can email me at the station, Jesse@KLRNRadio.com. You can also find me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. And, of course, if you've got another topic of interest, well, either email will get to me. There's always Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com, and I will see you folks next Friday. And right now, I think I'm going to pour myself a cup of coffee and settle in with a